It was 1995 and the first generation Outback sales were just starting to take off thanks to the very successful ad campaign featuring actor Paul Hogan. But at Subaru, they didn't just sit and wait for what was going to happen to their new Outback, which was already vital to Subaru as a company. They continued their way into the SUV market, which was filled with the truck-based SUVs, and not just with one, but two Subaru SUV crossovers, and the second car was this new Subaru Forester. It was introduced at the Tokyo Motor Show in 1995 as the Striga concept, and it was made available for sale in 1997 as a 98 model. It had style of a car, but had a taller stance, higher seating point, and the famous Subaru's all-wheel drive system that was standard. Subaru employed the advertising slogan SUV tough, car easy, which was really the main idea of this car, and it used the Impreza platform but with the larger 2.5 liter four-cylinder boxer engine from Subaru Outback that was making 165 horsepower and 162 pound-feet of torque, and no turbos were introduced this year. In Japan, Forester replaced Subaru Impreza Gravel Express, known in the US as Subaru Outback Sport, and Forester also appeared right after the introduction of Nissan Racine with a similar appearance. I've actually never seen this car, and as you can see, it does look very much like early Forester. Also, due to the Forester's low center of gravity, it meets the US federal safety standards for passenger vehicles, and it does not require risk of rollover warning. This is the label on the driver's visor, which is why it was also easier for Forester to compete with the large body-on-frame SUVs without actually having a proper SUV-like appearance. And actually size and price-wise it fits between the Impreza platform and the larger Legacy. What was also cool is that the automatic transmissions used on all-wheel drive vehicles would normally send 60% of the engine's torque to the front wheels and 40% to the rear wheels using this complicated computer-controlled continuously variable clutch. But when driving uphill, the vehicle's weight usually would shift to the rear, reducing the front wheel traction, and computers sending the torque to the rear wheels to compensate. And when driving downhill, vehicle weights would shift to the front, reducing the rear traction. So computer would send more torque to the front wheels to compensate and just for a better performance. And if the automatic shifter is placed in reverse or the first gear, the transmission divides the torque 50-50 to both front and rear wheels. And on the manual transmission cars, they're set up with the nearly 50-50 torque split as a base setting, but essentially the manual cars are set up with more bias towards the rear than the automatic cars. New Forester also came with the high level of standard equipment for that time, including anti-lock braking system, air conditioning, power windows, power locks, cruise control, digital temperature gauge, multi-reflector halogen lights, fog lights, roof rack, also rear window defogger, trailer connector, tilt steering wheel, tinted glass. Also it had a AM/FM cassette stereo with its antenna that was laminated in the left rear quarter window. For 2001 production year, new were the 3-point seat belts for all 5 seating positions, including force limiters in front, and the Consumer Reports magazine loved it so much that they called it the best small SUV. And the second generation that was in production from 2002 through 2007, what was really interesting here is that there were many changes done during that period, It was introduced as a 2003 model year. It was already based on the new Impreza platform that was featuring several improvements. Most of them were the weight-saving improvements, like the aluminum hood. And the most noticeable change, of course, was the optional 2.5 turbocharged engine. The engine was producing 210 horsepower. 2004 was the year the turbocharged XT version was also finally released in the US, although the same model was in production since 1990s in Japan and elsewhere in the world. In 2004, Subaru also launched the Forester STI for the Japanese market only. It was sharing the same engine as the 2005 Subaru Impreza WRX STI, and for 2006 model year, Subaru gave the second generation also a facelift using redesigned headlights, taillights, front grille, front bumper, the side moldings, and in 2006 this turbocharged engine that was powering Forester XT was awarded International Engine of the Year. This engine also was used in Subaru Impreza WRX as well as the rebadged Saab 92X Aero. And now a little bit about the maintenance. All of the 2.5 liter four-cylinder engines have timing belt made of rubber and cord, and this belt must be replaced every 100,000 miles. And these engines are also interference engines, which means that if the timing belt breaks or stretches, the pistons will hit the valves, and which will result in the engine rebuild if you're lucky. Also, if the belt is replaced around 100,000 miles, it would be a good idea to change the water pump, thermostat, belt tensioners, and all the pulleys that involved in this belt moving. Because the water pump and the thermostat are placed behind the belt. Also in China, a lookalike Forester was produced by EMA Motors and known as EMA F99. It was a similar design to the pre-facelifted model. Production ran from 2012 to 2014. The engine was a 1.5 liter four-cylinder that was paired with 5-speed manual, but the car was not related to Forester, even though it had a very similar look. Third generation Forester that was in production from 2007 through 2012 began to move away from this traditional station wagon design towards the becoming a traditional crossover SUV. It was larger in almost every dimension, and the styling was done by Subaru chief designer Mamoru Ishii. They used the back body structure from a Japanese Impreza wagon and the rear platform from US Impreza sedan, and also used the independent double wishbone rear suspension that was redesigned for better handling. Also the in-dash touchscreen satellite navigation became available with the Bluetooth. It was Bluetooth compatible. This mainstream SUV-like look and the new safety features brought even more sales. They actually doubled at that time. The fourth generation Forester that was in production from 2012 through 2018 was introduced at 2012 Guangzhou Motor Show in China, then followed 2013 release in New York. The changes to this lineup included continuously variable transmission that actually decreased the towing capacity, then the revised and sport-oriented suspension, and the chassis made ready for the XT turbo version with better handling. Also, they increased the fuel economy to up to 32 miles per gallon highway. And finally, the 5th generation that came out in 2019. It is safer, stronger and better looking Forester ever. The STI version also rolled out as the concept. And overall, traditionally in the US, Subaru sold especially well in the Pacific Northwest and the New England, where weather conditions require more practical and capable car. And Forester is just another example of this car that followed drivers' needs and was reliable. It had the all-wheel drive system standard and just had no nonsense that would actually brought so many loyal customers and help to save company back in mid-90s together with Subaru Outback. And this is all I have for you today, guys. Check out my channel for my other videos, but for now, thanks for watching and see you in the next one.